All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Dan Snyder's time as the owner of the Washington Commanders appears to be coming to an end as he is very close to a deal to sell the team for just north of $6 billion to a group that includes New Jersey Devils and Philadelphia 76ers co owner Josh Harris along with Magic Johnson. Snyder purchased the then Washington Redskins from the estate of former team owner Jack Kent Cooke in 1999 for 800 million. Now, initially, Snyder's purchase of the team was met with optimism in DC as he showed a willingness to spend money, but the results were never there on the football field. Under Snyder, the Commanders only won the NFC East four times, while in their six trips to the postseason on his watch, they never advanced past the second round. Overall, Washington's record with Snyder as a team owner was just 164, 220, and two ties. Under Snyder, there was a lot of upheaval in the front office as Washington had six general managers and 10 different head coaches under him. And like I always say, these are two positions along with the quarterback where you can't miss on them. We're not even going to talk about how many different starting quarterbacks that Washington has had since Dan Snyder began his ownership there. Now, with a new ownership group, will they be able to restore the winning ways of the Commanders? And that's big because Washington's heyday was under former head coach Joe Gibbs, where from 1981 to 1992 they won three Super Bowls. They were a perennial playoff team and a perennial Super Bowl contender every single year. Of course, you think back to the 70s when Washington was a contender under George Allen when he was the head coach, but nonetheless this franchise has fallen on bad times and it's just unfortunate. I feel personally, and this is just my opinion, that Washington is a sleeping giant in the National Football League if the right people are in place to lead this organization. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not Washington is once again going to be a player in the NFC East. You think about the NFC East, and of course, once upon a time, it was the glamour division of the NFL. This past season, we saw three of the four teams from the NFC East make the playoffs, while a fourth in Washington did not have a losing record, and they themselves were very close to making the postseason this year. But nonetheless, you think about the NFC East, the big markets there: Philadelphia, Dallas, New York, and of course, Washington. And of course, they have ownerships where, they're basically well known people. Jerry Jones with Dallas, John Mara is the co owner of the New York Giants, and then, of course, Jeffrey Lurie with the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's going to be interesting to see how Washington is going to be able to fit into that mix under a new ownership group. Now, if and when this sale goes through, and it looks like it's going to be going through sooner rather than later, everyone within the Commanders organization should be on notice, which includes General Manager Martin Mayhew along with head coach Ron Rivera. Why? Because they're working for people who did not hire them. They're working for people who are not familiar with them. And of course, typically, new ownership group wants to bring in their general manager. New general manager wants to bring in his new head coach. So let's see how things work out in this transition period for Washington, at least during the 2023 NFL season. Now, when Washington began playing at FedEx Field in 1997, it was one of the jewels of the NFL. But now the stadium stands as one of the oldest venues in the league. And you have to wonder if this new ownership group is going to be looking to renovate it or simply get a new stadium altogether. We got to wait and see. Of course, people are going to ask, what is Dan Snyder's legacy with the Commanders? First and foremost, I think he came in like a lion and he's going out like a lamb. And I say that because the expectations were high. He, is a guy who was a lifelong fan of this team. It was one of those where there was hope that he could get things turned around for this franchise, and it never did. I mean, it even got to the point where Dan Snyder went back and convinced Joe Gibbs to come back and coach the team during the mid 2000s. Joe Gibbs was able to get Washington to the postseason twice, but he never was able to rekindle the magic that he had during his glory days of the 80s and early 90s. So many off the field, if you will, situations with Dan Snyder involving this team from a variety of reasons. And that, along with the fact that Washington never got it done on the gridiron on his watch, that's what people are always, the majority of people are always going to remember for Dan Snyder. So I look at it like this: this is a new day for the Commanders. I'm not going to sit up here and say, well, new ownership group is going to lead to more championships in DC. No, but it's going to be interesting to see how this group is able to put their spin, their touch, if you will, on this organization. And like I said, 2023 is going to be a transition period because I guarantee you there's going to be front office personnel that are currently with this team that probably are not going to be there heading into the 2024 NFL season. But nonetheless, we knew that this day was coming. We saw the writing on the wall, and Dan Snyder's time in DC as the owner of the Commanders is coming to an end, as this is the start of a new era for Washington Commanders football. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.